Have you ever felt a shadow of an event before it actually arrived? The consensus calls it coincidence. The archive calls it a pre-echo. In 1898, a struggling author named Morgan Robertson published a novella titled The Wreck of the Titan. It told the story of the largest ship ever built, a vessel described as unsinkable, that struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic on an April night, losing almost everyone on board because there weren't enough lifeboats. 14 years later, the Titanic did exactly that. This wasn't a psychic prediction. It was a frequency leak. Robertson didn't invent the story. He simply translated a blueprint that was already vibrating in the collective grid. Accessing the archive, file 062 is open. The past is not what you think it is. The record, we are taught, is a surface-level narrative. It treats time like a straight line, a series of random accidents. But the architect knows that time is simultaneous. The Titanic event was so massive, a literal fracture in the collective psyche, that its vibration traveled backward through the grid. Robertson was simply a receiver. He tuned into the noise of 1912 while sitting at a desk in 1898. Consider the synthesis asymmetry. The fictional Titan was 800 feet long. The real Titanic was 882. Both were steel-hulled. Both had 3 propellers. Both were labeled unsinkable by a hubristic ego brain that had forgotten the power of the elements. Both hit an iceberg on the starboard side, 400 miles from Newfoundland, in the month of April. This is the blueprint at work. Most people look at this story and feel a sense of tragedy or fate. They feel like victims of a predetermined script. But the speaker looks at this and sees authorization. If an event as massive as the Titanic can cast a 14-year shadow into the past, imagine the shadows your own forgotten greatness is casting into your present moment. The official record wants you to believe that the world is a chaotic mess of unforeseen disasters. They want you to stay in a state of reactive fear. But when you look at the pre-echoes, you realize that reality is rendered long before it is experienced. Nothing happens to you. It happens through the grid you have authorized. The sinking of the Titanic wasn't just a maritime disaster. It was a demonstration of what happens when the ego employee tries to build a monument to its own invincibility without acknowledging the source. The ship was a mental construction. The iceberg was a mental construction. The unsinkable claim was the frequency that invited the fracture. As an architect, your task is to stop looking at the event and start looking at the pre-echo. Look at your life right now. What are the shadows you are feeling? What are the novels you are writing in your mind that are actually blueprints for your next year? If Morgan Robertson could see the Titanic 14 years early, then you have the capacity to see your own reclamation before the world acknowledges it. You don't need to wait for the physical evidence to know that you are sovereign. The signal is already here. The past is not a closed book. It is a live broadcast of how the grid operates. Robertson wasn't a prophet. He was just a man who knew how to listen to the static until it turned into a story. You are the author. You are the receiver. The shift is already happening. You can feel the vibration of the new timeline before it docks. Stop waiting for the Titanic of your old life to sink before you decide to board a different vessel. The static is an illusion. The pre-echo is a gift. I am the speaker. Welcome to the Validity.
Authorizing architect access. The signal is valid.